Well, I have a robe, a ring, the bling. We'll kill the fatted calf for the reception. The prodigal son has come to Bowie's Creek. Now, it's my custom to move directly into a speech or address to get to the matter at hand, but I would be certainly remiss today if I did not express gratitude and take some time to say a word of thanks to some people. First of all, to the Board of Trustees for selecting me to be the 5th president of Campbell University, and especially Ben Thompson as the chair of the board and chair of the search committee. Ben has been a friend and encourager. He's a consummate professional, an outstanding ambassador for the university, and a genuine quality human being. And you handled that well, not having to place that ring on my hand. I commend you on that. Also, thanks to the faculty, staff, and administration for welcoming me to your university and to your alma mater. To Jerry Wallace, Chancellor, when most people retreat into retirement, Jerry came off the bench and charged into a new chapter of service and led this university through a period of significant growth and development. Now, Jerry, when the NFL gets wind of what you've done, every team this fall will be trying to pull Peyton Manning out of retirement and sign him for the next season. And for you students, if there is one reason and one reason alone for Campbell University, it is you. Before there were presidential installations and even college presidents, there were students and there were teachers, the two absolutely essential elements for learning to take place. Andy Westmoreland, president of Samford University, one of my answers to the question that was posed to me by the Presidential Search Committee, why do you believe you are qualified to be a college president? I answered, because I worked with the very best for 9 years. Friends and colleagues are here. I have worked with many of them, written books with them. One sang at our wedding. One is here today who's been a friend since the first grade. And there's several here I have run many miles with. With two of those, I've easily run over 10,000 miles, along with a dog named Rumbly. That's the equivalent of running from Bowie's Creek to Buenos Aires, Argentina, and back. And I'm very pleased that my family is here today, my sister, my in-laws, relatives, children, and a very special word of gratitude to my parents, Charles and Jeanette Creed of Jacksonville, Texas. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for bringing me home from Nan Travis Hospital over a half a century ago and providing me the great blessing of being raised in your home. It is a reminder that the best things that ever happened to me I had nothing to do with, which to me is a pretty good description of grace. I want to be like my parents when I grow up. They embody what it means to be good people who live good lives for good purposes. And of course, Kathy, who stood by my side for a few minutes ago. To those of you who know her and have met her, you will understand that I was smitten with her when I first met her over 35 years ago. When people meet Kathy, they will express that they're so glad that she's coming, and by the way, we're glad that you're coming as well, too. What an interesting life we have lived together, a journey that has taken us through triumph and tragedy. Kathy is the person, though, who has had the greatest single positive impact on my life. And as we age and as snow gathers on the roof, there's still fire in the fireplace. But love to us is more than romance. To quote Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, love does not consist in gazing at each other, but in looking outward together in the same direction. Thank you, my dear. Presidential installations are fairly common public events, but not so much at Campbell, which seems to have an installation ceremony about as often as Halley's Comet makes a pass through our solar system. It's standard fare to give an installation address. I am not going to attempt the speech of a lifetime because it would only seem like a lifetime to those of you who endure it. This is not the time to give a Jeremiad on the ills of higher education today or my 34-point strategic plan. This is an occasion to celebrate Campbell University, to affirm its mission, and to extol the enterprise of learning. My Campbell story started on November the 18th, 2014, when I met with the Presidential Search Committee in a hotel conference room in Raleigh. Prior to that time, my only exposure to Campbell was a visit in the fall of 2000 when I lectured here on campus. There was a trailer park on the location where you are now sitting. 2 days after meeting with the search committee, I received a phone call inviting me for further conversation and a visit to campus. 43 days later, the Board of Trustees voted me as the 5th president of Campbell. And I've already composed my elevator speech. Campbell is a thriving university village in a dynamic and changing rural setting, located in the 4th fastest growing metropolitan area of the United States with connections around the world. What a great place it is. A door of opportunity opened. In faith, I walked through it and quickly began to see that Campbell is an opportunity school for all who join this community. An opportunity is a set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something. 26-year-old J.A. Campbell saw an opportunity when he opened an academy near the banks of the Cape Fear River in 1887 and enrolled 16 students in the first class. Since then, students have been coming off the farms and from mill villages and county seat towns, and soon from big cities and across the state and throughout the nation, and from literally around the world. Many of whom are still to this day first-generation students from their family to attend college. Here in this place is an opportunity for a better life. A better life involves making a living, which Campbell prepares students to do, but the path to a better life is through an education that stimulates and sometimes unsettles minds with new ideas and demanding concepts, where students experience Emerson's adage that the mind once stretched to a new idea never returns to its original dimensions. Campbell students learn skills and competencies that last a lifetime and enable them to survive and even thrive in a complex and constantly changing world. They study human history and culture, the natural world, physical sciences. They have an opportunity to be captivated by the beauty of art and enraptured through the joy of music. As the great British educator Matthew Arnold describes it, Campbell students have the opportunity to study the best that has been thought and said as an antidote to materialism, selfishness, incivility, and inhumanity. Over the last 8 months and 8 days, Kathy and I have traveled to 13 cities for meet and greet events with friends and alumni of this university. During those events, I have interfaced face-to-face with 2,000 people. In addition to those special events, I've traveled other places to meet many others. And here on campus, I have convened around 20 listening sessions with more scheduled to interact with students, faculty, staff, and coaches. These meetings help straighten out my learning curve, but they also allow me to hear other people's Campbell story. Campbell pride is strong and robust. There is an enormous amount of love, loyalty, and support for this school. So many people have told me how Campbell changed their lives. Last week, I received a letter from a man who told me his Campbell story. He began college as a freshman at another institution where, needless to say, he did not show great promise in the classroom. Someone directed him to Campbell Junior College, where he enrolled for just 1 year and where he lived in the home of President Leslie Campbell. He said that 1 year at Campbell did more to change his life than any other experience for the rest of his life. To Campbell, he said, I owe a huge debt of gratitude. And he's given us more than his gratitude. He's become one of the most generous donors in the history of this institution. That man understands that a Campbell education is not a transaction. It is a transformational learning experience that changes lives. In our service of worship last Sunday night in Butler Chapel, Dr. Mike Coggle described it so well when he said, students come to this place and their lives are redirected. He went on to say, surely the Lord is in this place, a place where committed students under the guidance of a caring faculty and staff are transformed. That transformation is not easy. Change is difficult for people, and it's sometimes trying for a university. Change can be painful. The crucible for growth is challenge and difficulty. Progress is simply not possible without it. In his momentous autobiography, Up from Slavery, Booker T. Washington speaks eloquently about education as struggle. He says it's not a fundamental right, but it has to be earned by determined, industrious people who are good stewards of golden opportunities. Struggle has echoed in the soul of this place from the very beginning. How we became the Camels, which I believe is the world's greatest mascot. How we became the Camels is not decisively documented in the historical record. There are theories, and I have mine. I will share it with you now. We chose our distinctive mascot, the camel, because the camel is the only animal that can go to a Baptist school for 4 years without taking a drink. At least the dromedaries. I don't know about the Bactrians, but more likely, the camel emerged out of the ashes of a great crisis, quite literally, the fire of December 1900, which destroyed the campus and was undoubtedly the work of an arsonist. J.A. Campbell rushed to the scene of the conflagration at 3:30 in the morning, just in time to see the roaring flames collapse the buildings. He too collapsed and fell to the ground weeping. The kind students tried to console him, but he only said, "There's no chance to go on." And he stumbled back home and fell into bed, utterly devastated. All was lost. His dream had vanished and gone up in smoke. A few hours later, a man who lived 6 miles away across the river tied up his boat, walked the remaining 4 miles to Campbell's home. Z.T. Kivett went into J.A. Campbell's bedroom, grabbed his hand and said, "Jim Archie, get out of that bed. Time's wasting. Your name's Campbell. Get a hump on you because we have work to do." And we still have work to do. Hard work. We are not living in the golden age of higher education. The challenges to colleges and universities are daunting, but let us remember that our work is not operating an institution of higher education. Our work is transforming lives. Students, the struggles that you experience in completing your college education are prelude and preparation for every other challenge you will face for the rest of your life. And you will be well prepared not only to survive, but to thrive because you are a Campbell University Camel. I love our Latin motto, ad astra aspera, which does not mean to the stars through pampering and valet parking. It means to the stars through difficulty, achievement through adversity, success through struggle, which are the circumstances and conditions that make it possible to do something with your life. Through Campbell, we all have an opportunity to make a difference. That's another great opportunity we have. And we make a difference by following a sense of calling to service for the blessing of others and the sake of the world. Your vocation is not just your job. It is the work that God calls you to do in this world. And there are all kinds of voices calling you to do this or that, first one thing, then another, buy something, be something, go somewhere. And the challenge is to hear the call of God in the midst of a noisy world. Your calling summons you, You don't so much choose your vocation as it chooses you. The writer Frederick Buechner lyrically describes it as the place where our deep gladness meets the world's deep need. Campbell University gives us all an opportunity to make a living and make a life, more importantly, to make a difference through service to others. In teaching his first disciples about the standard of greatness, Jesus said, "Whoever wants to be great among you must be your servant." And service is at the heart of our mission as a Christian university. Now, you don't have to be a pastor or a youth minister or a missionary to follow a call into Christian service. Your major, your profession, your discipline, your life can contribute to the common good of society and encourage human flourishing. All of our university disciplines and programs can yield their intellectual resources and professional skills for service to humanity. Through our various domains of discourse and inquiry, we can engage some of the most pressing issues of society, and we can serve others, such as primary and quality health care, particularly to the underserved areas of our population where the needs are greatest. The education of children and young people who are falling behind in the development of cognitive skills and academic competencies. Poverty and the many problems associated with it. Food and nutrition. It's ironic that in rural and other underserved areas, we now have the dual challenge of obesity and malnutrition, both diminishing health and well-being. Crime and justice. With the vision for redemption and restoration, how can we contribute to the reduction of drug abuse and recidivism in the prison population? If a university is a place for convening challenging and constructive conversations, how can we address some of the most significant issues raised by science and technology? And how do we build bridges of dialogue and understanding between science and faith? In what ways are art, literature, music, drama, and other creative endeavors important to human flourishing and healthy communities? How does entrepreneurship and business add not just to the bottom line or increase returns to shareholders, but also create jobs and means of livelihood? How are Christian ethics relevant to the professions and disciplines beyond the limited scope of compliance? Is not doing good dependent on good people of character whose lives are virtuous? Changing cultures, demographics, social norms affect all of these areas. How do we engage those things? Simply stated, as a faith-based university, Campbell has an opportunity to make a difference in the human longing and hope to have a peaceful, stable, and secure place to live, to learn, and to flourish. And our most viable resource for embracing these opportunities is people. Faculty, students, staff, alumni, donors. People make the difference. Early one morning, a man walked along a beach, lost in the hypnotic sound of waves breaking on the shore, calmed by a gentle ocean breeze. Movement down the shoreline disturbed his tranquility. As he drew closer, he saw a man moving along the beach deliberately and perhaps even a bit frantically. He was picking up starfish and throwing them back into the ocean as quickly as the surf dumped them on the shore. The observer drew nearer and asked what the man was doing. Showing irritation, the man with the mission said, "Well, can't you see what I'm doing? I'm saving these starfish. They will die if I don't get them back into the ocean." The observer persisted by saying, "Well, there must be hundreds of starfish stranded on this beach. Do you really think you can make a difference by what you're doing?" The man picked a starfish out of the sand and held it up for the observer to see, and he said, "It makes a difference to this one." And he tossed it back into the ocean. And we have an opportunity at Campbell to make a difference. One course, one program, one project, one student at a time. An opportunity is a set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something significant with your life. Campbell University is your opportunity. And when God opens the door of opportunity, walk through it. So thank you all very much. God bless you, and go Camels.